Okay, sometimes a concept for a movie is so obvious that you think that has it been done before, and you realize no, it hasn't.
So it kind of has, but it kind of hasn't. I had the same thought you did. I did some research on this because I've been heavily talking about In Search of Darkness Part 3, which I'm crowdfunding. So
all right,
I found that there's
part 3.
movies,
We need a part 3. Yeah.
Blood Creek, Shockwaves, Zombie Lake, Night of the Zombies, Oasis of the Living Dead, and kind of Overlord in recent years did the Nazi zombies thing.
Well, Overlord's a little bit later.
That's a little bit later on than Dead Snow, of course. But like it has been done, but it hasn't been done on a scale that people find memorable. And maybe it's because Call of Duty kind of did the Nazi zombie thing for video games, and then that became the idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking the whole time too, like no one's ever done this. I just think no one's done this recently. I think it was a bigger thing in the 70s, like exploitation style horror. Yeah. But it's weird to, kind of like come back to it and also have a zombie movie in the snow. We don't get that often either.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Because, of course, it's a big, it works.
Yeah.
You just sell the concept and you're like, hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Zombie Nazis. Let's.
Dead Snow, baby. We're talking it. We're talking the first one today. Don't watch the second one like Nick. Join us today for Dead Snow. Welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from Goethe Film Reviews.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast, and once again, thanks for watching, thanks for finding us, and for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. You can follow the show on Twitter and on Instagram. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great ideas. Hey, if you want us to talk about part 2, join the Patreon and tell us to. So yeah, go ahead and hit and like, subscribe. Today we're going to talk about one of those horror movies that's almost like, has it been done yet? No, it hasn't. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Dead Snow.
When a group of medical students and their friends spend their vacation at a rundown cabin in the woods, they unknowingly stumble upon a gravesite of dozens of Nazi zombies looking to protect their Nazi gold. Now it's a fight for survival as these friends try to escape the villainous undead Commander Herzog and his army.
Now, when you start your movie and you play the song "In the Hall of Mountain King," I'm one.
It's not a bad choice, and I'm assuming it's fair, I'm assuming it's a fair use song, so I think you can get away with it in your low budget film.
Yeah, and they got great makeup, the great special effects and everything, but obviously I hired a great stunt guy to do some snowmobiling.
Oh yeah.
There's some fancy stunts in there that he showed off a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and not just using that kind of a music to start the film, which does give a sense of almost comedic foreboding because it's been done to death. But then you also get one of our main characters, Erland, who is wearing a Brain Dead t-shirt, which was Peter Jackson's most memorable Splatterfest movie, known as Dead Alive here in the States. But
there's a little bit peppered of 80s stuff.
So you can see, I think, because we talked about the could this film have been influenced by Evil Dead? And I think, that's definitely got to be one of them. And I also think, definitely the Splatterfest of Peter Jackson. Including films like Brain Dead, where he kind of got his foot in the water. So maybe we'll see Tommy Wirkola's Lord of the Rings one day.
Yeah, but I love the little self-aware notoriety in this movie because there's a scene where the college kids are playing Twister in the cabin, and they like, why do we have to do this game? And it says, well, Hollywood tells us we have to.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they have to know that has to be it.
Yeah, only even have that conversation about Cabin in the Woods movies. We're like, isn't it a bad idea to go out here and be like, no, that doesn't happen in movies? And like, it does happen in movies.
Yeah, go on the cabin. There's no way you can access it, right? Yeah, and you find treasure in the cabin. You know it's going to be bad. Everything you just Hollywood tells us it's going to be. Yeah.
I have a laugh because the first time I watched this with a bunch of buddies, and I still remember to this day the moment when they like took the Nazi gold. I was like, oh God, it's Leprechaun. It's Leprechaun.
A little bit.
They took the Leprechaun's gold, and now he's coming back to get him.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping to see a little zombified Warwick Davis action, but we never did. I do like that this film takes elements of zombie films and also another kind of mythical creature known as the Draugr, which if you've played things like Skyrim, Draugrs are one of the main enemies you can come into contact with. It's an undead being who inhabits graves and protects the treasure therein. So that's kind of a variation of a zombie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we see here is some zombies are the mindless brains, but then you also have what I would call the Draugr zombies, which is that they have a purpose. They are protecting
navigating
something.
Around like the Colonel in this
and that's kind of what's happening here is that's where you get that zombies mixed with the kind of Draugr leprechaun style story.
Yeah. So if you ever you're going to write a zombie movie about kids going to Cabin in the Woods, you do need one film nerd. We recommend it.
Yep.
We know
I'm available for purchase. And not to mention, as somebody who wrote a zombie movie set in the snow and had my death scene cut, I could use another one, folks.
Hey, go again.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, zombie movies, I've always been a big proponent of zombie movies in different styles because they've been done to death. Especially now, we have what, like 15, 16 seasons of Walking Dead and spin-offs of Walking Dead, where that show has like
beaten it to death.
I love the show. I'm not gonna fight it. I'm gonna love the show, but it is a very repetitive. Like, we know kind of where things are going a lot of the time on that show. We kind of get the idea of all the Romero zombie films. We know the trajectory where they're headed. Zombie movies have been done in a number of different ways, and they always seem to kind of follow the same basic pattern. So if you get a movie that can play with the style, even just play with something like putting it in the snow, that's a big deal, and it makes the movie feel unique.
But they did wonderful photography shots in the snow. They established a lot of great landscaping scenes. Even going the journey out to the mountain is almost a little bit like The Shining.
Yep.
Going in, getting off the grid kind of a thing. But it's great scenes in the snow.
It was very
there's not take two when he goes through the snowmobile. So
it felt like a low budget visual kind of style that would later come out with The Hateful Eight, where they you get a sense of the cold, you get a sense of the frozen
they did
landscape.
a wonderful job with that.
And I think that works really well because especially if you have people running for their lives, we talked about the movie Wind River, which features a scene where a woman literally died because her lungs burst because she was running in the snow, in the cold. Like, we know how painful, as Minnesotans, running in the snow can be after a while.
How you can get sexually violated by the wind.
Yeah. And that's kind of what's at play with Dead Snow, is like, maybe this is a movie that just works better for people who watch or who live in snow areas because we get it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of comedy to this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we'll put this in the horror category, but it is kind of fun. If you're gonna throw a log on a dead zombie, make sure he has his helmet off. Maybe that'll be effective.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to throw a log on top of his head.
Well, there's even the scene, slight spoiler alert, where a character is infected and then cuts off the limb and then gets bitten again somewhere.
Oh my God!
There,
solved the problem.
But I think that's something because that it'd be very tough to sell a Nazi zombie serious film. Like, there has to be a little tongue in cheek because you are kind of taunting what is revered to be like a thing that should have happened numerous times. It should be its own genre at this point because nobody likes zombies and nobody likes Nazis. So hey, combine two things people hate. It should have been done to death, and it hasn't been. And I think being able to tongue-in-cheek and have some fun with that tonally is what works really well. And Wirkola tried doing that again with Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, which was less successful. But he definitely tries to play with the kind of comedic elements in those.
Yeah, it has to be a little more fun to it. Yeah, you kind of have the constant dread. You have to have a little more comedy, which gets inspiration from Sam Raimi and Peter Jackson. You got to have a little bit of fun with the thing because you're going to mess with that outhouse.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have a sex scene in an outhouse, that must be real. I mean, you got to really be angling for something there. I got visions of Friday the 13th Part 5, where the one guy was singing a song in the outhouse before he died.
That's right.
And I was thinking about that the whole time. There's a lot of inspiration things in this movie.
There is.
And kind of like how we see them showcased. Because, Evil Dead, absolutely. Dead Alive, absolutely. I even got elements of, it's an Easter horror movie, so I was even thinking about Critters 2. Like, I was thinking about all these elements that were at play in a movie.
There's a lot of the big mixture, because if you're a heavy horror fan, you've seen all these movies, you'll see, like, oh yeah, there's the crusty old guy. What is he doing out here? Nobody's supposed to be out here.
Yeah, you get that guy, too. It's just like, the guy at the gas station who's like, don't go down that road. Like, it's that guy again, so...
the crusty guy from Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
You kids, get out of here if you know what you're good for.
The snow's got to death curse.
Yeah. I did get a coffee. Who made the coffee? I did. Was it good? No. So that's such a Scandinavian move. Right?
Yeah. And then I'm not gonna take it then. I thought it's also nice to see that they're well aware of how many of these characters are gonna die. Listen to the conversations early on in the film because many of the deaths in the film are foreshadowed just in how they interact with each other on the car ride to the cabin.
Can't stand blood. You know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I can't stand blood. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. And you could take notes. I talked about taking notes on your characters to see if you can bet who's going to die. That's kind of another thing that I love doing when you watch these movies with people for the first time. It's like you pause the movie 10 minutes in and you take bets on who's going to eat it first.
But that's what I'm not. We're always when we do writers' workshops, we always try to fight cliches. But this is one where you have to play with the cliches. You have to recognize that they exist. And to play upon them. And that's the entertaining part of this movie is the play of cliches. We know the old man's gonna knock on the door and tell him that what the hell, you're all gonna die, you idiots. Yeah.
I think horror fans are more understanding of cliches,
Yeah.
especially those of us who
If you use them well.
stood in line at every single sequel. The first movie I went to after I got my vaccine was the 9th Saw movie. So like, throw your shade everywhere you want, but like those people, horror fans who embrace the endless barrage of horror films, we kind of tend to embrace the cliches a little bit.
But you have to it's how you play with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know they're going to exist, so how you navigate. This is a great way of playing with them.
Yep.
And then what works well with Descent is playing against cliches.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's successful, even though it's kind of the same kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But here you have to recognize, all right, we have to do this because Hollywood tells us to. They tell us in the movie, right?
Yep.
We have to do this. We have to do this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a horror movie made for a drinking game. It's just ripe with that kind of like self-satire that kind of demeans itself in a lot of ways too. And I'll just come out and say the movie is cheesy, goofy. It's not a great movie, but it's very entertaining. Like the elements of it are not like all well put together. This was not a movie that was going to win a bunch of awards and stuff, but it's damn entertaining.
But it's fun, and establishing shots, outside shots, everything is done really well. They did lighting really well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see there's not going to be phenomenal acting, but everybody did good job.
Yeah, there's not a bad element to it. They're just not as good as we've seen. So like when we praise this movie, we're going to praise it for the entertainment value more than anything else because it is really, really.
But you can eat popcorn and enjoy this movie like you're an idiot going there. That's the whole point of the movie, right?
Yeah, this is a great movie to get a bunch of people around. And the nice thing too is I watched this with a bunch of people who are fairly loud people, so it's kind of nice having a movie with subtitles too then.
Right, you don't mind
you can actually read a little bit and figure out what's going on.
You don't have to, you can be loud and boisterous. It's a party kind of an enjoyable movie, right? And where something like Descent, you want to be kind of watch it in your kind of own
Yeah,
way.
there's certain movies where, again, like when you have a tongue-in-cheek idea and you have a horror comedy that embraces cliches, you can watch it and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's what Tommy Wirkola did really well with this movie, that he's kind of tried to struggle with as he's kind of moved through the American film system. It kind of reminds me of our director of Night Watch, Timur Bekmambetov, who like really had his own style in Russia, and then when he came to America, really struggled to kind of find his footing. We had like films like his most successful American movies probably Wanted, and that's still very mixed on reception. He did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, he did the Ben-Hur remake, and like people just like, that's not really the right footing to get into, and like some of that happens sometimes. We get filmmakers who come from their native land to America and kind of get wrenched into the system.
Yeah, we almost want to feel like, well, we have to make it a kind of American movie. How do I do that? Where we just want to
we want your movie from where you came from. We're just going to give you money for it. And that's something that Guillermo del Toro finally figured out. He struggled with Mimic because he had a bad studio behind him.
No kidding.
He couldn't get it to work the way he wanted to. And then he kind of wormed his way in by doing a sequel with Blade 2, and then kind of doing a lesser-known superhero movie, so still in like a popular genre, but lesser-known, and now he's making movies that get Best Picture nominations and wins because he's making the movies he want to make with a good budget,
Maybe Tommy can do what like Soderbergh did, one for the studio, one for B, kind of navigate that thing, or just work with a citrus style that we actually hire for you for the style.
He's got to find a studio that's willing to give him money to do what he wants to do.
Let him go, right?
And that's why I think like, these kind of filmmakers are the ones that I'd like to see Blumhouse embrace more. Is because they do give a lot of money to people to make the movie they want.
Give a lot of people a startup,
Yeah, and I think they should be maybe pulling some of these foreign language film directors into American studios and then giving them budget and letting them play.
Let them keep their style. Let them keep how they navigate it, rather than okay, this is the American audience. Let's Americanize it. That's because I think this really works well to know that this is not from America. This is another element that makes it entertaining.
Yep.
Because you can see elements where it's not American, even though it's almost like Europeans think what American movies are.
Yeah. It's funny because we got that too with even Dario Argento, where like he's aware of how American movies are made, and he would kind of play into the tropes a little bit, but then kind of do things his own way at the same time, give his own style to something we've seen before. And I think that's something that we could be embracing here too. Is this is a fantastically enjoyable first feature, and he just struggled to make that work in the system.
Because it doesn't look very rough, amateurish.
No, it's pretty solidly made altogether. Like I said, we're not saying anything bad.
It doesn't look like a whole movie. This is really, really good production, set design, everything, good camera choices.
Yeah, I think there's only one shot where I could tell we were obviously on a green screen. Like there was one shot where they were doing the kill scene, and I was like, it's very obviously one, but it also again, it didn't take away from the movie.
No, it's
just one of those obvious moments where you're like, yep, this is an independent thing, or this is a lower budget film.
Yeah, that cabin looked a little too clean.
Yeah, it's true.
That
There's
looked
no
like
basement.
it looked like a clean mess. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that outhouse was even actually pretty clean too. All things considered, like it was gross, but I've seen grosser.
Yeah. Well, Sam Raimi, he knows how to make it really dirty. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really keen on the movie. Obviously, they made some sequels, so it had to be successful.
Yeah.
It had to make money.
Sequel
I didn't
had-
check. Did it make? It had to make money. Money's back.
It did pretty well. It didn't blow the doors off of anybody, but it had, like we talked about before filming, it had like a minor surfacing when the film came out, where people talked about it, people knew about it, and then it disappeared for a bit. And maybe it wasn't until Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters came out that people said, "This guy made movies before. Let's check them out." So if that's the one good thing that came out of that movie, then.
I call it the ocean wave sequence, where it rushes in, kind of goes away, then it settles down where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I haven't actually had the chance. I was telling you I have the sequel wrapped up.
He does.
I will be watching it after this recording because I didn't want to have it impede on my thoughts on this first
Hey,
film.
spoiler! It really does look like an Evil Dead inspiration. The movies, the part 2.
And you can tell it got a little bit more of a bump because we got some names in the sequel. Martin Starr, who's made a couple of, he was in Freaks and Geeks and did a couple of Marvel
He
movies.
did that
and stuff.
Spider-Man movie where he's the teacher.
Yeah, so he's kind of bumped in there with. He's not a major name, but he's a name still to see in the movie. So we've got a little bit of bump in terms of budget on that one. So I'm curious to see how the second film.
Well, now that she's, because my wife likes Martin Starr from Freaks and Geeks,
There
so
you go.
if you say that he's in the movie, maybe it should be entertaining to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely did well enough to garner a sequel. I think our lead actor Martin, played by Vegar Hoel, has passed away.
That's what.
sometime after
Okay, that was the
second
next
film
question
came
because
out.
there's a lot of it on the internet that he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
that was what I found on IMDb. So I unless they're wrong, but they're usually not wrong about that kind of stuff. So
there's not a lot of information after that. They just said he passed away, so it probably seems kind of like a private kind of thing.
yeah, so it's unfortunate to see like that again, like a movie that had that kind of bump and it also has a very distinguishable villain. We haven't talked about Commander Herzog yet, but like it's an iconic visage.
That is the greatest. If somebody said all you have to do is just stand there and look that, you don't have to do very much.
Well, and again,
It's
we have a
great.
zombie who speaks, so like kind of that Draugr sense, but
Yeah.
like it's an iconic looking
You
zombie.
just stand there.
Because when I think about zombies in like
It's
the
a
main
great
sense,
role,
I think
man.
about Bub from Day of the Dead. I think about there was a character in Land of the Dead, or Big Daddy, I think it is. And then you get like Tarman and Return of the Living Dead. And then I also think about Commander Herzog from this film. I think he's an iconic looking character that you could have spawned something really like kind of interesting with building upon that for a second film. And I know the second film features Herzog returning. But, it's kind of cool when you have a small, low-budget film that has that iconic
He
look
does
to
that
him.
expression where it's almost like Emmett Walsh did in Blood Simple, where he always shows his teeth a little bit.
He's got like perma-sneer, I've been calling
Yeah,
it.
but he always shows his gnashing teeth.
Yeah.
But whoever is the actor for it had a great day. You just go in costume, they spray a little dust snow on you, and
Yeah.
you just stand there and you're like, oh my god, you're in trouble. But you all he did is just stand there. It's one of those actors' roles that you just love. You don't have to do very much work.
You have to physically
Everybody else
be
does the work
intimidating.
around you. Yeah.
Yeah, but and that's a performance if the makeup is not there, the character's not there.
Yes.
Because it is so much
Yeah.
based on
Everybody else is doing the work around you. You just stand there like, all right, you go in the center there. Everybody else is
Yeah, the actor I'm going to approach you Orjan Gamst, who actually went on to Wirkola also did a film called What Happened to Monday for Netflix. That was a feature film.
Yeah.
He brought a lot of performers, a lot of background crew with him to that film as well. Gamst appeared in that as well as a Dragonheart sequel. So he's doing okay.
one of my references, because I talk about an actor's role, and Orson Welles always talked about it because he did a story called Mr. Wu, a play. In the first 2 acts, everybody's talking about, oh, Mr. Wu, what would Mr. Wu do? But, Mr. Wu would hate this and everything, and at the end of the second act, over a bridge, you see him stand, and then they cut, and everybody's like, did you see the guy who played Mr. Wu? Wasn't that great? He just stood there. And that's what the Colonel Herzog is doing. Everybody's talking about him, and then when he appears, like, oh my god, that's great.
Mhm.
And he just stood there with makeup on. I love those.
Sometimes the smaller roles are the ones that we remember most. I mean,
Yeah.
Judi Dench won an Oscar for 8 minutes of screen time in Shakespeare in Love. Ruby Dee got nominated for American Gangster, where she appears in, like 4% of the movie. So, you can do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And I think,
And it's nice that everybody talks about you before you get the scene, right?
Yep. I mean, yeah, we
Because somebody needs to hold a cue card, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
There he is, right?
It's not like in Looney Tunes, they got all the arrows pointing at him, like,
Right, don't
avoid,
get-
avoid.
You don't need that. He just shows up and you're like, yeah, that's Colonel Herzog. We know that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really keen on the movie. It definitely has a high rewatchability. You probably want to bring your friends in and enjoy it.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Bay of Blood. where it's kind of like you want to get your buddies together and you want to create like I said, you want to create a betting pool with the ones who haven't seen it, where they bet on who's going to bite it first, and you can have some fun with that. I think it's a fun popcorn horror flick that's a little cheesy at times. It's a little like it's a little lower than what we would normally see in the American film system, but that doesn't really mean that it's bad. It means it's entertaining, and it's really well made for the very small budget that it has.
Before we go, I mentioned I had a book when I was a kid called Treasure in the Snow, and it's based on a true story of these kids in, I can't remember what country in Scandinavia, that would slide down a famous hill where there was Nazi occupation, but they would, in their sleds, hide their valuables and family valuables, so the kids would slide down past like they're just frolickly playing, and they're just hide their valuables in their sleds, in their snows, and the Nazis will leave them alone. I think there's a little bit of inspiration for this movie.
That's
if you
fair.
can find it. I think the title of the book is Treasure in the Snow, if you find it.
There you go. So the adaptation of Treasure in the Snow, Dead Snow.
I have a book somewhere.
Oh, all right. Bring that in for our next
Part two?
next
Right.
show out there.
Part 2 when they go in the city.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think about Dead Snow? Have you seen the other Dead Snow, and which one do you prefer? Also, which Tommy Wirkola film? He did 2 big American films. He's kind of been around the area, did a lot of films in his native land, and being able to celebrate this filmmaker.
It
Let
should
us
be
know what else we
dead.
should talk.
It should be dead zombie Nazis in the snow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a little-
it should have sold the zombie Nazi thing. Call of Duty did that. That basically they sold entire packages that just said contains Nazi zombies. Yeah. Let us know, what you think of Oberst Herzog, our commander, our evil commander. What's the most iconic zombie you know from cinema? Let us know in the comments section below. We'd love to hear it. And while you're down there, as Nick pointed out, we got a like button, we got a subscribe button. Both those things help grow the channel immensely, and they're both free things that you can do where you can help avoid missing out on future episodes.
Yeah.
And hey, if you want to be part of missing episodes, you can join the Patreon. The link's down in the description. Nick mentioned it already. We've got tiers as low as $1, but you can equal $5 and up. You can be part of our rotation for picking the movies that we do every single month.
It's cheap as a cup of coffee.
Yeah, throw out one of your Starbucks and come to Kyle and Nick on Film and join us. Until next time, guys, you can find all my film reviews at goatfilmreviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast, and I'm not going to go to your cabin.
I'll go. As long as you got coffee.